But I still get confused with the word abstraction. It just seems an incredibly generalised term. Abstract tradition is a very old tradition. You can look at everything from Celtic art to Tantra art, in Chinese, in Buddhist art, Islamic art. There's been a long tradition of non-representational work, or abstract work, for want of a better word. Like, my work got abstract elements, but it also has these other layers that go into it, such as, the use of photography. I guess often I fall back on talking about my art as an investigation of time and the way we perceive and experience time. So there's this type of interior lived time of abstraction, for want of a better word, the made time of painting, and the sort of instantaneous time but mechanistic time of memory of photography. So those composites are sort of, I guess, what I want my work to deal with. And even the work that looks purely abstract is never situated in terms of reductive abstraction into a sense of purity, because I always see the monochrome or the simple abstract work as sitting amid a much broader context. So it becomes like an interval in the world that helps you to see what surrounds it, as well as an endpoint in itself. So it's not like minimalism, even though it's simple. One of the aspects of my work is to try and create these composites that have both an organised sense of reality, but also don't negate sensibility or sensation. Sensibility, or my touch, is not about self-expression or expressionism, but it's more like the way, as an individual, I deal with material, and how that can be evocative of a poetic space and time. I guess I've learnt from both, and it's not an either or, but if I had to choose between those two, I think my sensibility is more towards a European sensibility. But I would add another two important influences, and one is that of Asian art and also Indigenous art. I think one of the interesting times that we live in is the recognition of, some of the best painting in Australia at the moment is being done by Indigenous people. No, I don't think things are eternal in that sense. There's a type of representation that goes on that's a contemplation, but it's all an illusion in the sense that, for example, if you look at a monochrome, you see it both as a surface, you see it as colour sensation, but you can also see it as an atmosphere or as a void. And that cycle of association is one of the things that I find useful about it. I like the French term esprit vital, which Henri Bergson used. And it's a sort of spiritual resonance, or in Chinese painting you had a similar thing called spirit resonance that was one of the major rules of Chinese painting. So it's not about illustrating a state beyond. It's not a metaphysical state in that sense, but it is a sense of recognising energy. Well, I think like any art form, you're going to have people where there's a sense of a repetition of a style until it becomes vacuous. So I think there's an element of truth in that, but you can't talk about all abstraction like that. I think there's some great artists, male and female, that operate today that create what I'd call authentic experience and visual experience through art. And I come back to that term, you'll be sick of me saying it, but the type of energy that is almost necessary today as a counterpoint to mass entertainment. It's a type of art that turns oneself back in on oneself. It helps us explore the interior world of feeling and of thinking. And I think there are some very important abstract artists that have been doing that for a long time. I guess my work's a reaction to the tech image. And the artists that I look at within the traditions, they vary from people like Liu Yufan in Korea. But I would align myself more with that school of a contemplative practice that acknowledges the actuality of materiality and the actuality and authenticity of our experiencing of the world. And it's not simply about image. I mean, we're in a society where everything is image. What I like in terms of the role of painting is that it is both a constructed object as well as a felt and thought about construct. So it's got a multiple range of layers of reading and meaning. Most really good abstract artists, I think, have got a complexity to their work, even though it might appear to be simple. And that's one of the things that often today we want a simple, direct, one-line image that we can see in our popular culture. We want entertainment. And I like work that turns us back on ourselves to help us consider, how we experience the world and what is real. No, there's no question, that art is an ongoing activity, and those questions that you're engaged with, art in some ways is a presentation of those questions. It's not necessarily the solutions. And in my own way, I try to do that. And so that's why every day when I get up, I still paint. I still have the same enthusiasm that I had when I was younger, because I'm trying to somehow make a work that reflects my understanding of reality at this moment. It needs to have the complexity both of the known, the felt, and the made all together. It's a bit like any knowledge. It's never ending. It's that you get to a certain point and that leads you to the next point. So there's a continuum of investigation. And I think abstraction does that as much as any other form of practice. For me, humour is a really important part of my practice. And that's why I think I find amusement in certain both formal relationships, but also in certain juxtapositions. Even when I use photography in relationship to abstraction or fields of colour, the narrative of photography gets often disrupted. And I tend to think of my work as being a bad version of Jacques Tati.